I'm sorry that the photographer himself isn't here, but the next best thing is his son Chris, who can offer some insight maybe about what you remember of your dad and what it was like to grow up the son of a photographer.
Well, I have lots of memories of Dad, of course, and I was with him when he took some of the photographs in British Columbia in 1962. Probably with that one, well, it doesn't really matter. Dad, my Uncle John, and I traveled around the interior of BC for 10 days, 2 weeks. Went to Merritt. I met W.O. Mitchell, which was a great event in my life. Spent the day canoeing with his son on the lake. And my dad got to know a lot of people because of his practice. I mean, he was a commercial photographer, but he was a photojournalist. Did a lot of work for Star Weekly and so on. And would often come home from these shoots, having spent a day with some celebrity, some author, somebody he really admired. Phil Silvers was a great favorite of his. We all loved Sergeant Bilko. And my dad literally sat at Phil Silvers' feet, photographing him like this. You know, he idolized him so much. So it was great. And of course, being a photographer, he was always doing a lot of commercial shoots. He was always bringing home, props and things that he was finished with. So he had a house full of strange costumes and whatnot. He'd often come home with dry ice, which was, for kids in North Toronto, was a gas to play with. We really enjoyed that. But my memories of my father and photography go back a lot farther than that. Living in North Vancouver in 1955, 57, he had a darkroom in the basement of the house, which I was in quite a number of times. He spent so much time working in the darkroom that his fingers were stained light brown. And this was a mark at the time. I'm not going to really say very much about the photographs here, except, of course, as Stephen will tell you and you know, come from 2 books that he did. First one's Canada, published in 1964. These are mostly photographs taken between 60 and 62. And again, I was with him in the 62 thing, and I'm actually featured in one of the color shots in the book, although you just see the back of my head. And To Be a Dancer. And by the time he did To Be a Dancer, I think it's 1971, my sister and I, my sister Orion, who's not here, she lives in England, were kind of off the scene. My parents separated in 1964. We had gone out to Vancouver with my mother, and so we'd see Dad on trips to Toronto, or when he came out to Vancouver, where, of course, a lot of the Varley family still lived. I want to say 2 things about the nature of the show, and that is that Stephen's not kidding when he talks about the length of time it's taken to get this thing off the ground. He very kindly, my dad died in 2000, early 2000, and left everything in the care of his widow. Julie was his 3rd wife. And Julie always had concerns. She was not somebody to release things easily, but she welcomed Stephen to Nanaimo to see what there was, and he liked it a lot. But nothing was released because Julie had her concerns. So that was that. And then after Julie died in 2012, my sister took everything to England. I really appreciate the fact that she's allowed us to repatriate them here, the photographs here, because they belong in Canada. And Stephen came and saw the photographs a second time. I remember the 2 of us picking you up at a little train station in Surrey, and you were just there for the afternoon, yeah, weren't you? It was just in and out, yeah. But it was
5,000 photographs in 3 hours.
Yeah, that's right. And you also gave us some very good advice at the time, and that is that, take what you want now, for family members and so on. So I've got a body of work to work with, unimpeded, and I can do what I can with them. And what I find exciting about the show, now all the black and white photographs are vintage prints that my father made. He was a very, very good printer. But the color is all recent. And Stephen has done a Fred Herzog on my dad's color. My dad did a lot of color photography, but he was never happy with the results. I remember him meeting him in Vancouver about 1977, going to a photo processing place because he didn't do his own color, and getting a whole box of 8x10, I think they're C-types, is that what you call them? C-type prints, color prints, which were considered state-of-the-art at the time. And he opened the box, and he just said, this doesn't work. He'd paid hundreds of dollars for these photographs, and it just didn't work. Things that look great as slides or transparencies, as prints, say, in those days, it just didn't work very well. And that was Fred Herzog's problem as well, until Andy Sylvester rescued him. Just one little aside, and that is that I didn't know Fred very well, but I knew him in Vancouver, and he used to do shows off his slides, just little private gatherings, and click, click, click like that, and slides of downtown Vancouver and people on the street. And everyone loved them, but he couldn't figure out how to print them. And it was only with the introduction, the advent of really good digital printing that anything could be retrieved and turn into a product that could be marketed and the rest of it. And of course, the rest is history. And these prints, of course, are made with technologies far better than what Fred was even using 10, 15 years ago. So I'm really delighted. I mean, it not only makes a better looking show, but the quality of the color is I mean, it's the 60s, you know?
Yeah, they look like they're made at the time.
They do, yeah, they do. And I understand from what you say that these are absolutely stable, which is, well, I mean, that's
more stable than we are.
More stable than we are, exactly. Well, I'm going to wrap this up in a second, but I'm a former museum curator, and I remember, and it may still be the case with some museums to this day, if you bought, color prints, you'd ask for, you'd try to get two copies from the photographer, because they tended to, and you'd store them in cold storage, couldn't expose them very much to light and air, and they were very fugitive. They're very fugitive. And if somebody can come up with stable color prints, and you've done it, I mean, it's here, it's available now, I think a whole new world opens. And I think the history of color photography is going to be, we can now explore it in a way we never could do in the past. So this is great. Anyway, I'm sorry my sister isn't here. I thank you all for coming. I hope you enjoy the show. And if I can answer any questions, I'd be delighted. But I really appreciate this. And I appreciate your patience, Stephen, and your attention.
Oh, thanks.
You've really done a nice job. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Okay, thank you.